Hey, welcome back to Why I Hate Being a Wife. I'm your host, and today we need to talk about something that makes my blood boil: weaponized incompetence. You know what I'm talking about. When your partner is somehow incredibly competent at his job, manages complex projects, figures out complicated problems, learns new software, troubleshoots technical issues, but mysteriously cannot figure out how to load the dishwasher correctly when he's perfectly capable of learning anything else in his life. But when it comes to domestic tasks, suddenly he's helpless. Suddenly he doesn't know how. Suddenly he needs you to walk him through every step. Let me paint you a picture. Your husband is successful at work. He manages teams, meets deadlines, solves problems, learns new systems. He figured out how to play complex video games. He learned all the rules of fantasy football. He can remember statistics for his favorite sports team going back decades. But somehow he can't figure out how to run the washing machine. He can't remember which kid likes what for lunch. He can't figure out how to make a doctor's appointment. He loads the dishwasher wrong every single time, even though you've shown him 100 times. He burns dinner when it's his turn to cook. He dresses the kids in completely mismatched chaos, so you'll just do it yourself next time. That's not incompetence, that's weaponized incompetence. And I'm done pretending it's anything else. So let's be really clear about what weaponized incompetence actually is. It's when someone pretends to be bad at something so they won't be asked to do it again. It's when someone does a task so poorly that you just take over because it's easier than dealing with the mess they made. It's when "I don't know how" really means I don't want to learn, because if I learn, it'll become my responsibility. It's strategic helplessness designed to get you to take over, and it works. Because here's the thing: it's not that he can't do these things, it's that he won't. There's a difference. He's not actually incapable. He's not actually confused. He's not actually helpless. He just knows that if he acts helpless enough, if he does it badly enough, if he makes it difficult enough, you'll eventually give up and do it yourself. And then it's your job forever. That's the strategy. That's the weapon. That's why it's called weaponized incompetence. He's not stupid. He's just trained you to believe it's easier to do everything yourself than to teach him or supervise him or deal with the mess he makes. Let me give you some examples, and I bet you'll recognize at least half of these. Loading the dishwasher. He loads it wrong every single time, puts things in places where they don't get clean, blocks the spinner, doesn't rinse things first, mixes the silverware chaotically, and you've shown him the right way 100 times, but somehow he still can't get it right. So eventually you just load the dishwasher yourself because it's less frustrating than redoing it or dealing with dirty dishes. Doing laundry. He shrinks your favorite shirt. He turns everything pink by putting something red in with the whites. He uses way too much detergent. He forgets that delicates can't go in the dryer. And after enough laundry disasters, You just take over because you can't risk him ruining more clothes. Folding laundry. He folds everything so badly that it's basically still wrinkled. Kids' clothes are in the wrong drawers. His own shirts are creased and crumpled, and you can't send your kids to school in wrinkled clothes. So you refold everything, and eventually you just do it yourself from the start. The I can't find it routine. Where's the ketchup? It's in the fridge. Where's the tape? It's in the junk drawer. Where are the kids' shoes? In the shoe basket by the door. He asks you where things are, even when they're in the same place they've always been, even when he could just look for them, because it's easier to ask you than to look for himself. And you answer because it's faster than arguing. But now you're his personal search engine. Cooking disasters. When it's his turn to cook, he burns things, he makes a massive mess, he forgets key ingredients so the meal is inedible. He makes something so bad that you all end up ordering pizza. And after enough of these disasters, you just cook every meal because, at least, then your family gets fed something edible. Dressing the kids. He sends them out in shorts when it's 40 degrees. He puts them in outfits that are completely mismatched. He forgets that today's picture day, so they need to wear something nice. He sends them to school in pajamas, and you get judged by other parents and teachers, so you just dress the kids yourself every morning. Making appointments. You ask him to schedule a dentist appointment. 2 weeks later, it still hasn't happened. You remind him. He says he forgot. You remind him again. He says he'll do it tomorrow. Eventually, you just make the appointment yourself because you need to get it done. Grocery shopping. You send him with a list. He comes back with half the things on the list and several things that weren't on the list. He forgot the milk even though it was on the list. He bought the wrong brand of something. He didn't check if things were on sale, and you have to go back to the store anyway. So next time you just go yourself. See the pattern? Every single one of these ends with you taking over. Every single one trains you that it's easier to just do it yourself. And that's the point. That's the strategy. And here's why weaponized incompetence works so well. Because eventually it is easier to do it yourself. It's easier to load the dishwasher correctly the first time than to unload it and reload it. It's easier to cook dinner yourself than to eat burnt food or order takeout. It's easier to dress the kids yourself than to have them show up to school inappropriately dressed and deal with the judgment. It's easier to just make the appointment yourself than to remind him 17 times and have it still not get done. You're tired, you're busy, you have a million other things to think about, so you take the path of least resistance. You do it yourself. And he wins because now it's your job. Now you are responsible for it. Now he doesn't have to think about it anymore. And the next time that task needs to be done, you don't even ask him. You just do it yourself because you've learned that asking him is more trouble than it's worth. And that's how weaponized incompetence works. It's exhausting you into submission. Okay, let's talk about the most infuriating Excuse, I don't know how. Bullshit. You don't know how? Really? You figured out how to do your job. You figured out how to use complicated software. You figured out how to play video games with complex mechanics. You figured out how to fix your car. You figured out fantasy football stats. You figured out how to build a PC. You figured out how to brew beer in the garage. But you can't figure out how to work the washing machine? You can't figure out how to pack a diaper bag? You can't figure out how to cook spaghetti? You can't figure out how to make a phone call to schedule an appointment? Come on. It's not that you don't know how. It's that you don't want to know how. Because once you know, it becomes your responsibility. And here's the thing that really pisses me off. I didn't know how to do all this stuff either. I had to learn. I had to figure it out. I had to make mistakes and learn from them. Nobody sat me down and taught me how to manage a household. Nobody gave me a manual on meal planning or scheduling or managing the mental load. I figured it out because I had to, because nobody else was going to do it. And you could too. You just won't. You know what exists? Google, YouTube, the instruction manual that came with the washing machine, the recipe on the back of the pasta box. You have access to the same resources I did when I learned how to do all of this. The difference is, I had to learn because nobody else was going to pick up the slack. And you don't have to learn because I'm picking up the slack for you. And then there's this manipulative bullshit. You're just better at it. You're so good at organizing. You're better at cooking than I am. You're better with the kids. You have an eye for this stuff. It's a compliment disguised as an excuse to not even try. And here's the truth. Of course I'm better at it. I've done it 500 times because you won't. I'm better at organizing because I've been organizing our entire household for years while you did nothing. I'm better at cooking because I cook every single day while you've cooked maybe 10 times in the past year. I'm better with the kids because I'm with them constantly, managing their schedules, knowing their needs, while you show up for the fun parts. Nobody's naturally born knowing how to meal plan or fold fitted sheets or schedule appointments. We learn by doing it, and I've been doing it constantly while you've been opting out. So, yeah, I'm better at it now, but I wasn't always. I got better because I had to. And you know what? You could get better too, but that would require actually trying. That would require doing these tasks repeatedly until you learn. That would require taking ownership instead of giving up at the first mistake. But it's easier to compliment me and let me keep doing it. It's easier to act like I have some special skill that you could never develop. And the worst part, it works because when you say you're so good at this, part of me feels valued, part of me feels appreciated, until I realize that the appreciation is just another way of making sure this stays my job. So let's talk about what weaponized incompetence actually costs. First, it costs you time and energy. You're doing tasks that should be shared. You're managing things that should be managed jointly. You're carrying a load that should be split. Second, it costs you respect for your partner. It's really hard to respect someone who acts helpless about basic life tasks. It's really hard to see your partner as an equal when you have to parent them through loading the dishwasher. Third, it costs you attraction. You know what's not sexy? Having to manage your partner like he's a child. You know what kills desires? Feeling like his mother instead of his partner. Fourth, it costs you your sense of partnership. You're not a team, you're the manager, and is the reluctant employee who does the bare minimum and needs constant supervision. Fifth, it costs you your sanity. You're exhausted, you're resentful, you're angry, and you feel guilty for being angry because he's trying you and you should be more patient. And sixth, and this might be the biggest one, it costs you the ability to truly relax because you know that if you don't do it, it won't get done right. You know that if you take a break, things will fall apart. You can't step back because he won't step up. That's what weaponized incompetence costs you, and it's expensive. So let's talk about why men do this. Because I don't think most of them are sitting there consciously thinking, I'm going to strategically fail at this so she'll take over. I think it's more insidious than that. They were never expected to be competent at domestic tasks. Their mothers did everything for them. They went from their mother's care to their wives' care without ever having to figure out for themselves. They were never held accountable for failing at household tasks. When they did something wrong, someone fixed it for them. When they forgot, someone remembered for them. They've learned that there are no consequences to incompetence. Someone will pick up the slack, someone will take over, someone will manage it, and that someone is always a woman. They've also learned that domestic labor isn't really work. It's not valued. It's not important. It's just stuff that happens in the background. So why would they put effort into learning something that's not valued? And here's a really fucked up part. They are often rewarded for minimal effort. They load the dishwasher once and they get praised. They cook dinner one time and everyone acts like they're a hero. They watch their own kids for an afternoon and it's called babysitting and everyone's impressed. The bar is so low that they don't have to actually be competent. They just have to show up occasionally and they are celebrated for it. So, why would they try harder? Why would they actually learn? Why would they take full responsibility? There's no incentive to change. The current system works great for them. And let's talk about what actual competence would look like. What actual partnership would look like. It would mean him figuring out things without being walked through it every single time. It would mean him making mistakes, learning from them, and getting better, not giving up after one failed attempt. It would mean him taking initiative and ownership instead of waiting for you to assign tasks. It would mean him noticing what needs to be done without being told. It would mean him doing tasks to completion properly without you having to supervise or fix it afterwards. It would mean him learning your kids' preference schedules, needs without you having to be the information hub. It would mean him being actually helpful instead of creating more work for you. Actual competence means treating household tasks like they matter, like they're real work that requires real skill and real effort. It means not giving up when something is hard. It means looking up how to do it instead of asking you. It would mean watching a YouTube video, reading an article, figure it out. It means trial and error. It means making mistakes and learning from them instead of using mistakes as an excuse to never try again. It means taking pride in doing things well instead of just doing them well enough to technically count. And most importantly, it means understanding that this isn't helping you. This is managing his own household. These are his responsibilities too. You're not asking him to help you with your work. You're asking him to do his work, to carry his share, to be a functional adult. And I know some people are going to hear this and say, not all men. Yeah, I know. Not all men weaponize incompetence. Some men are fully competent partners who carry their share of domestic labor without being managed. But enough men do this that it's a pattern. Enough men do this that every woman listening to this podcast is nodding along. Enough men do this that it's a recognized phenomenon with a name. And if you're a man listening to this and you're defensive, maybe ask yourself why. Maybe sit with that discomfort. Maybe think about whether you're actually as competent as you think you are, or whether your partner has just learned to stop asking and do everything herself. Because here's a test. Could you run your household for a week without asking your partner any questions? Could you feed your family, keep everyone on schedule, remember all the appointments, manage all the tasks without any input from her? If the answer is no, you're not carrying your share. You're being managed, and she's exhausted. So, what needs to change? He needs to stop pretending to be helpless. He needs to stop acting like household tasks are mysterious and impossible to figure out. He needs to actually try, not half-ass try, where he does something poorly and gives up. Actually try repeatedly until he gets better. He needs to stop expecting praise for doing basic shit. Loading the dishwasher is not an achievement, it's a task that needs to be done. He needs to stop using mistakes as an excuse to never try again. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning. That's not a reason to give up. That's a reason to try again. He needs to take ownership, not just of tasks, but of the mental load of knowing what needs to be done. He needs to notice, anticipate, plan, remember. He needs to understand that you're not his manager, you're his partner. And partnership means equal responsibility, not one person assigning tasks and the other person completing them when convenient. And if he doesn't change, if he continues to weaponize incompetence, then you have to decide if you're willing to be his mother for the rest of your life, because that's what this is. You're parenting your partner, and nobody wants to fuck someone they have to parent. No one. Weaponized incompetence is manipulation. It's a strategy to avoid responsibility. It's the way to make sure you do everything while he does the bare minimum. And I'm done accepting I don't know how from a grown man who is perfectly capable of learning anything else he wants to learn. If he can figure out his job, his hobbies, his interests, he can figure out how to run the washing machine. He can figure out how to cook a meal. He can figure out how to make a doctor's appointment. He just has to want to. He just has to try. He just has to give a shit. And if he doesn't, if he continues to play helpless, then he's choosing to make you his mother. He's choosing to opt out of partnership. He's choosing his comfort over your exhaustion. And you have every right to be angry about that. So next time he says, I don't know how, hand him your phone and say, Google it. Next time he does something badly, don't fix it for him. Let him try again. Next time he acts helpless, walk away and let him figure it out. Because the only way weaponized incompetence stops working is if you stop picking up the slack. And yeah, things might fall apart for a while. Dinner might be burnt, the laundry might get fucked up, appointments might get missed, but that's on him, not you. And maybe if he experiences the consequences of his own incompetence, he'll actually learn. Or maybe he won't. And then you'll know exactly how much he values your partnership. All right, that's it for today. Next time we're talking about why am I the default parent? How you became automatically responsible for everything kid related, even though you're not a single parent. Until then, remember, weaponized incompetence is a choice, and you don't have to accept it. This is Why I Hate Being a Wife. I'm your host. I'll see you next time. Take care.